Hi, Tim.
Hey, we are so glad to have you with us. And we know you've been on the air so many times with us here on American Family Radio, but we brought you back this morning because we've got a brand new program starting up, and we want our listeners to know all about it.
Well, hey, thank you, Ray. Thank you, Miki. Hey, before we go there, where did you guys say Tim Wildman was today?
He's in New Orleans, Dr. Tim.
I am not liking him.
I'm telling you, it's hard to be, you want to be 100% happy, but there's that small percentage that kind of goes, what?
That's right.
I'm with you guys. What a place to be right now. That'd be a lot of fun.
Someone's got to take one for the team.
That's right.
That rascal. Anyway, yeah, we're very excited about our brand new program that we're airing, Life, Love, and Family, and it's just really a dream come true. For years, we've been wrestling with just creating a voice out there for today's generations and talking about issues that hit home and, again, continue to champion the good work in Christianity that's being done and stand for our values and our faith. What a time to do that. And the exciting thing, you all, I see some bright spots out there. I see some young leaders stepping up, some young lions who want to become a voice, and we're just delighted to be maybe a small part of that.
Well, tell us, so our listeners can be totally sure, tell us when your program's going to debut, and tell us when they can find you.
6:30 Central Time, you guys, and it is up on AFR. We're on some independent stations, too, a part of what we're doing, but we already kicked it off here in the month of January, and very excited about the results we've been getting so far.
Life, Love, and Family with Dr. Tim Clinton. What can we expect? And I guess even what can we expect as we tune in? But what are the issues right now that's facing the family? When you talk about addressing those issues, even, in a radio format, why would the family want to tune in to hear this program?
Well, I tell you, on a personal level, speaking of just having some family fun, tonight I got a big game I'm going to. My son Zach plays basketball. You all, on Tuesday night, can I tell you a little secret?
Yes.
Tuesday night, Zach's 17. He's a junior at Liberty Christian Academy. We played a school called Carlisle High School. They're down by Danville, Virginia. When they walked out on the court, they were monsters. They have a 7-footer. The kid is a freshman in high school. He's 7 feet tall, 215 pounds. He plays like a college player already. They're talking about him being the #1 recruit as a freshman right now, probably going to go straight to the NBA, you all.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a wild game. Zach hit 5 3-pointers in the first half going against them. We wound up losing the game, but this dad was lit up in the stands. It was hard for me to stay seated. We were having some fun. You all, part of why I shared that was I just so much enjoy my family. Mm-hmm. And I'm burdened deeply about the role of fathers in the family right now. We have a big event coming up in Lynchburg, Virginia. It's called Wildfire Weekend for Men. And one of my buddies, Jeff Smith-Baker, who's associated with the NRA, he has a little project called Fathers in the Fields is coming. And he and I have talked, and he said, Tim, we just need the re-engagement of dads in the family. That is one of the big issues. And the new research out there on how significant dads are to kids is just astounding. And I just think if we can start talking about, hey, strong fathers, strong sons, strong fathers, strong daughters, and encourage dads to step up to the plate, and I think a lot of the younger generations are starting to do that, think about the good that we can get going. If we can move from this, quote, buffoon mentality of towards dads and say, hey, listen, let's be at the games. Let's be emotionally engaged. Let's stand up for our sons and our daughters. Let's fight for them and fight for our wives and more. That's just one small segment.
Yeah. Dr. Tim, one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot, and as we're talking about fatherhood, you always hear the statistics, and you hear about a girl who is raised without her dad. And, I remember in high school and even in college reading a lot of those stats and what was supposed to have been, I guess, my path in life, having been raised by a single mom. And so when I didn't hit any of those, and I'm using this, tongue-in-cheek, any of those markers, I thought, oh, well, I made it out unscathed by the fact that I didn't have a father in the home. And then, Dr. Tim, I got married. And here's what I realized. I realized that there was a deficit I was completely unaware of. I had no idea how to be a wife. I had never seen a family managed by two people. I had no idea what it meant to submit or how to believe that my husband could love my kids. And look, I always say my kids. I wrestle with that. Love our kids as much as I do. And I'm wondering, when you come across that, even in counseling and meeting women now, because the number is increasing at an alarming rate, that it's more likely you'll run into someone who didn't have their dad in the home than actually had their dad in the home. What are some of the struggles that you have seen, and how do you minister to those people or counsel them in that area?
Miki, the statistics are pretty astounding. Today, 40% of America's kids woke up in a home where their biological father does not live. 40%. I teach a relationships course at Liberty. I have a couple thousand kids who go through my class each semester. And just about a week and a half ago, I looked at this class of 1,000 kids. I said, let's split it right here. And I said, this morning, if this class was representative of kids who woke up this morning in America, this is how many woke up out of this class without their dad at home.
Wow.
And as we visualized that and began to talk about it, and I showed a clip of a little girl. It actually was out of the movie Hope Floats, and it was a scene where that Sandra Bullock movie where he's going to leave home, and that little girl makes the scene. It's called Bernice Makes a Scene, and she comes running out, and he says, Bernice, I want to take you with me, but I can't. And she said, but you promised, Daddy. And he's out there by the car in that scene where he hits the horn as hard as he can and drives away, and she's left there screaming. And, I mean, there's total silence in the room. You know why? Because a lot of them grew up without their dads.
Yeah.
We call that clinically father thirst or father hunger. And what starts happening, Miki, you know this, Ray, you know this, we start looking for the love of our dad in all kinds of places. And I asked them, what's it look like? You should have seen the stuff pouring out of these kids at Liberty University. And what they were saying, they all get it. And you know what they're crying out for? They just want their dad to love them. And they hate that scene in Hope Floats. You know why? Because that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
Now, can we recover it? Here's the great news. That's why I love our faith. Like the psalmist cried out in Psalm 42, though my mother and father forsake me, guess what? The Lord will deliver me up.
Amen.
And that's beautiful.
It is.
Tim, I'm sure you've had the question 100 times, so I'll ask you 101 times then. For single moms out there who say there is no father present, what does she do? Is it hopeless, or what does a Christian single mom who wants to raise her children in the nurture and admonition of the Lord, where does she begin and what does she do?
That's a great question.
Yeah, well, there are a couple thoughts on that. I have a niece, and that was one of the conversations we had over Christmas. She has twins, and her son has autism spectrum disorder, Asperger's, and she's wrestling with manageability issues and more. And she said, Tim, he needs a daddy. He needs a man in his life. What are we going to do? Well, part of the conversation was this. What you need, first of all, to do as a single-parent mom is be the best mom you can be. You know why? Because he or she needs a great mom. Okay? And that's the greatest gift you can give. And by the way, don't be a mommy dad. You're not a mommy dad. That's not your role. That's not your responsibility.
Explain what you mean by that, Dr. Tim. Go ahead and kind of qualify that for us.
Yeah, you don't. I know you're trying to fill the shoes of being dad in his or her life, but that's not your role. You need to be mom is what you need to be, and the best mom you can be. And then what we need to do then, and this is where I think the church comes in. Think of that verse out of James, both of you, where it says, true religion is what? To visit the widows in their affliction, then widows and orphans in their affliction. This is where the church, big C, should be stepping up. We should be reaching out to these fatherless homes and pouring into them. And it's amazing when you can start getting some male influence in their life, what starts happening. What kind of male influence, you say? Well, it could be a youth pastor, it could be an uncle, could be a brother, it could be a grandfather, and more, where there's just godly male influence getting into their life. You never know. I asked the kids, tell me somebody in your life, a male figure, who made a difference. And these kids started stepping up. My youth pastor did this for me. I had a coach who believed in me, Dr. Tim. You wouldn't believe it. And it changed my life. You see, when we start thinking in those terms, you start realizing that we're becoming then Jesus in the skin, if you will, for them. And what difference does it make? It makes all the difference in the world.
Oh, that's so good. You're listening to Today's Issues. I'm Miki Addison along with Ray Pritchard. We're filling in for Tim Wildmon. You're just hearing the voice of Dr. Tim Clinton, who's the president of the American Association of Christian Counselors. And also we're talking about his new program, Life, Love, and Family. Is that correct, Dr. Tim?
Yes, Life, Love, and Family.
And, I know that there's so many people listening and they go, what resources can you tell us about? Is there anything that you're excited about that's maybe new or maybe even pertinent to the subject we're talking about right now?
Well, in terms of research or just
resources,
helpful resources. Well, I'll tell you, when it comes to parenting, there are a lot of wonderful websites out there on fathering, and I just encourage people to Google or do whatever because we all do it all the time.
Sure.
But we've put together some really nice, fun resources on parenting that I think are very helpful. One of the interesting trends right now is on emotion coaching in our kids, learning to be attuned to our children. Let me explain what attunement means. It means to understand where your kids are coming from. Listen to this statement. Every parent listening right now knows whether or not you're close with your son or your daughter. Let me say that again. You know whether or not you're close with your son and or your daughter. Why? Because God made us that way. I don't think I've ever met a man who has children when I haven't looked him in the eye and said, how you doing as a dad? You know what his response will be? I think about it every day. He won't tell many people, but he thinks about it every day. His son or daughter. Now, being attuned means being able to not just be physically present, but to also be emotionally present and to be understanding of where your kids are coming from. And by the way, you can't do that by just dropping in on your 12-year-old, and having a 5-minute conversation or trying to intrude into his bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
No. You got to be in their world, and often, by the way, it comes to the world of play. One of the brilliant pieces that's coming out of the literature right now, you all, has to do what's called special time with your kids. And this really comes from the research of a guy named Russell Barkley. He's probably one of the preeminent guys in terms of understanding ADHD and oppositional defiance disorder. And in his treatment strategy, which, by the way, he boasts a 93% success rate in terms of clinical research, watch what he does. A core to his program is spending 20 minutes a day of command-free special time with each child. Now think about that. 20 minutes a day is all he's asking for. Give me 20 minutes a day where you crawl into, right, Miki, your son or your daughter's world, and you just hang out with them doing what they want to do. In other words, if I said to Zach, hey, Zach, let's go outside and shoot basketball, that was an indirect command. That's not what we're looking for. What he would say to me as a dad, he would say, Tim, what I want you to do is I want you to go hang out with Zach for 20 minutes a day, and let's do what Zach wants to do. And here's what happened. When he started studying this, especially with defiance in the home, defiant kids, if he could get that parent-child connection going there emotionally, what started taking place in that 20 minutes was unbelievable. It was revolutionary. And here it comes this whole relationship piece. We've often said that rules without relationship leads to rebellion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And rules with relationship leads to respect. Well, the relationship piece gets really significant here. When you get connected emotionally with your kids and you crawl into their world, you start understanding them better. You start learning how to communicate, even non-verbally. You begin to participate in ways that begins to start changing their trajectory, if you will, because you can start having influence indirectly in their own life.